Welcome to those of you who have already joined us. I'm going to, of course, give us a few more minutes. I wish I had elevator music to play for you, but I don't. So I'm just going to stay muted and we'll get started here in about 4 minutes. Thanks so much. You guys for joining me today. Just so you know, we are also streaming this live on Facebook and I'm recording it. So I will be able to send you the recording after we're done so you can review and give me questions maybe you hadn't answered. And those of you who are watching me on Facebook, if you did not register for this webinar, that's okay. And if you would like me to send you a copy of the link of the recording, please just private message me your email address and I'll get that over to you once we have it all squared away. We are going to go through, this is just a really good program. I've done this several times. It's really informative. I'm glad that you guys are here. I'm going to go through my PowerPoint presentation with you in just a minute. I'm going to share my screen. You are able to ask questions. If you're on the Zoom call, you're able to ask questions in the question and answer box. And if you are on Facebook, please put your questions in the comment section. Know that I cannot see your questions while I'm sharing my screen. So that is one reason why I'm going to wait until the end to take questions. But another reason is the question might be answered as I go forward through the process. So if that's the case and I have sufficiently answered your question, just make note of that. And I will do my best to address all of the questions that we have once we get towards the end. So I'm very excited. Nice to meet you. My name is Melissa Berube. I am the broker of White Diamond Realty, which is a residential real estate firm here in Morgantown, West Virginia. This presentation is going to be focused, as far as the statistics go, on Monongalia County. That being said, the general information is very broad-based. So if we have anybody here who is outside of Monongalia County or even outside the state of West Virginia, it's still going to be really good information for you to take. On there is our contact information. If you have any questions afterwards or anything like that, please feel free to take a note of our phone number and our information website there. Information email there, info@whitediamondrealty.net. So why don't we get this party started, shall we? Let me share my screen. And this is something that I have not done before. So, except in my very feeble practice sessions. So, if I mess up, please be kind and gentle. I'm just doing what I can. So, all right. So, is it a good time to buy a home? How to make an educated decision? I'm assuming that most of the folks on here are either first-time home buyers or haven't bought anything in a long time. Maybe you owned a home in the past and now you've been renting for a while, or you're renting currently and wondering if that's the best use of your money. And that's what a lot of this this program is going to go through. Basically, pros and cons, not so much what the process is, but the kind of the preliminary and moving forward. Some of the questions that you may have as the process, which is great, I will be happy to answer those, but do keep in mind that 1 week from today, next Wednesday, the 16th, is that the 16th? No, excuse me, next Monday, the 9th at 6:30, same station, same time. I will be doing a second webinar that will be the step-by-step process, and I'll go into a lot more detail as far as lending and inspections and stuff like that, and I'll have some guest speakers with me, so you won't just be listening to me. But for today, we're going to talk about, let's just make that decision first, shall we? So there are pros and cons to everything. Whether you're buying a car or whether you're deciding which restaurant to go eat at, there's pros and cons to everything. So let's go through some of the cons first. Not everything is roses, right? So the first con I have on here is responsibility. I find that is one of the biggest concerns that people have. It's really nice when you're living in a house and let's say your hot water heater goes out. All you have to do is pick up the phone, call your landlord, and they come out and arrange to have your hot water fixed. So that's probably one of the biggest concerns that people have as far as the responsibility of taking care of their house. Maybe you don't have to mow your lawn. Maybe you don't have to, take care of your landscaping. So the responsibility is a big one. The second biggest one is upfront expense. People are really concerned about how much money they have to have out of pocket to buy a house, with the down payment and the the closing costs for the loan. And it is true that a lot of times you do have an upfront expense, but if you think about it, you also have an upfront expense with renting. You have to come up with your first month's rent. You have to come up with your security deposit, which is usually equal to your first month's rent. If you have a pet, you're going to pay an extra pet deposit. Some landlords even require that you pay the last month's rent. So there is sometimes upfront expenses. However, and we'll get into more detail in the next webinar next week, there are loan programs available that is 100% financing. There's West Virginia Housing Fund. There's the USDA loan. If you're a veteran, VA loans are 0% down. So there are ways to lessen that down payment, even if it's just 3.5%, which can sometimes be a gift. And you can also negotiate in the contract that the seller help cover some or all of your closing costs. So I have had several closings that not only did my buyers not have to bring anything to the table to close, but they got money back at closing. So that's not always the case, but it definitely can be. So keep that in mind. Repairs, we talked about that a little bit already. So responsibility is not just upkeep, but repairs. And that's something that people are kind of worried about. You can, however, get a home warranty for a house. So at least in the first year, something catastrophic happens, you have some coverage there. And then maintenance. You're the one that's going to have to mow the lawn. You're the one that's going to have to patch the roof and all that good stuff. So those are most of the cons as far as home ownership. So let's pop over to the pros, shall we? So my first and most favorite pro of owning a home is it's a stable investment. The venerable Warren Buffett, who is well known as the guru of finances in the country, states, along with many other economists and financial gurus in the country, that the number one best step and first step and most important step in wealth building is owning your own home. It is the real estate market does a little bit of up and down, and we'll go through that here shortly. But as a general rule, it's a big wheel that just keeps turning, and you're holding on to your real estate investment for a long term. And overall, it is a very stable investment and a very important step in wealth building as you start adulthood. Freedom, it's your house. You can plant a tree in the middle of the yard if you want to. If you want to paint cow spots in your kitchen, by all means, paint cow spots in your kitchen. You have the freedom to do what you want in your house when it's yours. This is another big one, and it kind of taps back into wealth building. It improves your credit. 30% of your credit score with FICA is weighted on your mortgage payment. So if you have a mortgage and you're paying your mortgage on time every month, that is a huge boost to your credit. It is a very, very important part in building your credit. We all know how important credit is in life. No matter where you are in life, whether you're applying for a job or a credit card or a car payment, having a good credit score is extremely important. More wealth building here, people. If you haven't caught up with the theme, tax breaks. Did you know that there are several tax breaks that are available to homeowners? The biggest one is what's called the mortgage interest deduction. So that means that the interest that you pay in a mortgage, and when you are first get a mortgage, a 30-year fixed mortgage, the interest is paid up front, basically. So a majority of the payment that you make in the first part of your 30-year loan is interest, because the bank wants you to pay that interest down before you start paying down on your principal. And we'll get into that too. And that is 100% deduction from your income on your taxes. Now, a lot of that depends on, I'm not going to say exactly how much that is. You're going to need to talk with your tax accountant, but that is a huge deduction on your income taxes. So you will either pay less at the end of the year in taxes or get back more on your tax return. The other direct deduction on your tax return is the real estate property taxes. So the real estate property taxes that you typically pay within your payment is also a deduction. Long term, when you sell your house, and again, there's rules and regulations as far as whether you are married, single, how much you make on your house, but the profit that you make when you sell your house, 9 times out of 10 for a typical homeowner, you do not have to pay what's called capital gains taxes on that. So that money that you make when you sell your house is a tax-free boon to your wallet. Cash, you are building equity in your house so that as you pay down your principal or you make improvements on your home, you're building up equity in your house, and you can use that in the future. You can get what's called a home equity line of credit so that you have that as kind of an emergency fund if you need to make major repairs, or if you have a child going to college and need some extra funds. that's there for you. Make it yours. You want to remodel the kitchen? Remodel the kitchen. You want to open up that wall between your dining room and your living room? Guess what? As long as it's not a load-bearing wall, you can open it up and make that room much bigger. It's yours, make it yours. And this is a big one, pride. I tell you what, I've had 2 kids, and having those kids was the proudest moment of my life. The third in line was when the keys to my first house were dropped into my hand. There is nothing like pulling up into a driveway, looking at a home that's yours, and you want to take care of it. You want to improve it. It's an amazing feeling to be a homeowner. You got to trust me on that one. All right, so let's move on. So I talked a little bit about payments and such like that. So let's go into mortgage rates some. Now, I'll tell you, I bought my first house in 1997. And when 1997, I looked it up, the average interest rate for a mortgage, for a Fannie Mae Freddie Mac mortgage, was 7.49%, which is pretty good. When I went to buy my second house in the early 2000s, the interest rates were starting to drop. It was, you know, the market was changing, and we went to a mortgage lender, and we didn't want to what we call lock in our rate yet. We wanted to wait a little while because we were building. But my husband at the time said, you know, as soon as those rates get to 6%, you can lock them in. And that mortgage person laughed at him and said, pigs will fly the day that mortgage rates go below 6%. Well, here is a moral, ladies and gents. Never say never, because these are the mortgage rates over the last 10 years. So I pulled up July's, and so these mortgage rates that you see are the national averages in the month of July in their given years. 10 years ago it was 4.53%. So you can say when people keep saying our mortgage rates are historic lows, our mortgage rates are historic lows, I tell you, our mortgage rates are at historic lows. And what this means to you, why you want to pay attention to this, and why if you have been considering for any amount of time and are really on the fence, this might push you off of it. So you'll notice in 2011, the mortgage rates, average mortgage rates, were 4.53%. Now they're 3.02%. So back in 2011, basically every $1,000 you borrowed cost you $5 at that rate. Now at the 3.02% rate, every $1,000 you borrow costs you $4. So if you were looking at apples to apples in payment, your payment 10 years ago versus your payment now will buy you about $20,000 more house. Now, does this mean this is the rate that you're going to get? No, it does not. A lot of things go into rates. It depends on your credit history. It depends on your credit score. It depends on what kind of program you're getting, insurance premium, all kinds of things go into here to get a really true picture of what you can qualify for and what your rate would be and your payment would be. You need to talk with the mortgage lender. Again, that will be in webinar 2 next Wednesday at 6:30. But that is the difference a 1.5 points makes. $20,000 more in buying power. So even if you were thinking about it last year, I would talk with your banker again, see where you lie with your interest rate, because you may afford considerably more house this year based on last year, simply because the rates are lower. So we've talked about rates, we've talked about pros and cons. Let's talk numbers, shall we? Changing tides, average sales prices. Now, these are for Monongalia County. Let's go to 2015. 2015, the average single-family home was $262,650. That's a 6.6% increase over 2014. Fast forward to 16, went up another 5.2%. You guys can read, so I'm not going to read you these, numbers back and forth. 2017 was a little flat. It went up, but it was less than 1%, so no big deal. 2018 went up again. In 2019, last year, the average single-family home was $297,687. That was 2.5% higher than the previous year. Now, please keep in mind, don't let these numbers scare you. I know this is really high and that's a really big ticket price, but it's okay. Just bear with me. These are for single-family detached homes. So that means they're just your regular freestanding homes in Monongalia County. If you are outside of Monongalia County, this is going to be different. Also keep in mind that the average attached home in Monongalia County, so townhouses and condos, in 2019 was $194,747. So that is far more affordable. That's why you see so many townhomes in Morgantown. young professionals, first-time home buyers, sometimes it's hard for them to be able to afford to get into a single-family detached. So they'll start in a townhouse or a condo, build that equity, and move forward. Year to date is another one that I wanted to mention. Year to date, so from January 1 of 2020 to now, the average sold price for a single-family detached house is $320,079, and the average attached sold price is $192,016. So we are on our way to having another good year of appreciation, but we won't know that. I won't do those calculations until after the first of the year. So, did you say wealth building, Melissa? Why, yes, I did. And if the reason why I put those little percentages there is to show the investment aspect of buying a home. So if you take a look at those 5 years, if you average the appreciation rate over those 5 years, you're looking at 3.84% per year of owning a home. So this means that, you know, with historic numbers that you can bank salt on, it is projected over the next 5 years, on average, your property could just naturally appreciate in value 3.84% per year. So that's almost what, 15, almost 20% in the next 20 years. So, and then to put some perspective to that, because that's just for single family detached homes, if the attached homes, the average appreciation rate over the past 5 years was 2.26%. So attached has a slightly lower appreciation rate, but still a very healthy one. And then if you combine that with those averages, then it's 3.05%. But what is that ripple effect? Well, let's do this. So let's say you decide to buy a single family home. Again, don't worry about this price. This is just for demonstration purchases at the average sales price of 2019, $297,687. If you just make your mortgage payments on time and don't do anything to it, it's going to naturally appreciate the following year up to a little over 309. Then next year it's going to go up to 320, and then the fourth year it's going to go up to 333, and then the fifth year it's going to go up to 346. So just by living in your house, making your mortgage payments on time, going on with your day-to-day life, not doing anything special, you will potentially make $48,426 just in natural appreciation equity growth in 5 years. That is amazing. And this is why Mr. Buffett, Warren, not Jimmy, not the parrot guy, the money guy, says the key to wealth building is buying a home. But what does that mean? We're looking at all of these big numbers. We're looking at these big, huge numbers that just boggle your mind. When I work with buyers, I tell them it's not the big number that matters. What matters is what you're writing that check for at the end of the month, or the beginning of the month, or whenever it is that you're paying. So let's take a look at apples to apples. These two homes that you're looking at, the one that's for rent at $1,750 a month. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. This is actually a house for rent. I got it from the MLS. And in the same neighborhood, the house next to it has 4 bedrooms and 2.5 baths. It's in the same neighborhood. It's for sale for $325,000. So let's take a look at annual cost of living between buying and renting. Okay, so let's take a look at your annual cost of living. So here are some numbers for you. If you decide to rent, that house is $1,750 a month. You don't have any home value. You don't have any tax benefit. You don't have any equity increase. The good news is you don't have any maintenance either. You are going to pay utility bills. Now I kind of estimated this on what my utility bills are. I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. So that's what I estimated that on. It's similar in size to these, maybe a little bigger, but not by much. You don't have to pay insurance unless you're paying renter's insurance, and that's like, what, $2 a day? That's very cheap. You don't have to pay property taxes. So your total annual payments for your housing payments is $21,000, but your total cost of living, because of these utilities that we're estimating, is $25,260. Let's take a look at the next one. So if you're buying that $325,000, so this monthly mortgage payment I calculated based on a conventional 5% down. Actually, I think I calculated on the full 100%. Now this is estimated because it doesn't include mortgage insurance premium or something like that. But actually the payment is less for the $325,000 home you can own than the $1,750 home that you rent. So the payment is, and this is a principal mortgage, excuse me, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance payments. So this is your entire payment, not just principal and interest. $1,673.72. Your home value is $325. Your tax deduction, where I got this tax deduction from is, and this is, if you remember, I said that your mortgage payments are front loaded with insurance, excuse me, with interest. So what this tax deduction is, I estimated property taxes at $2,400 a month to come up with this payment. I estimated property taxes at $2,400, which is a little high, and insurance at $1,200 to come up with that mortgage payment. So that is the $2,400 in property tax deduction in property taxes that is deductible, and $9,721.92 in interest that is tax deductible. So you have a $12,121.92 tax deduction there. Your equity increase based on that 3.8 something % that we just talked about is $12,480. Your hot water heater went out, gosh darn it, you had to go to Lowe's, pay a plumber, have another one put in, cost you $1,600. Same utility bills because it's about the same size house. Your insurance is included in the payment. Your property taxes are included in the payments. So your total payments annually are a little less, $20,084.64. However, your total cost of living, because of that dag-nabbit hot water heater, is a little higher, $685 higher than your monthly rent at $25,944.64. But if you take that equity adjustment, you actually saved almost $11,800 in cost of living, because you are building your wealth by not paying somebody else's mortgage. You're building your wealth by paying your own mortgage. So that is my presentation. I hope it all made sense. I hope I didn't go too fast. And now is the time for me to take questions. So I don't see any questions in my questions and answers on my Zoom. Let me take a look at my live here, and I don't have any here. Would you guys like to ask any questions? I am all ears. All right, so somebody's asking, in the cost of living slide, why is the equity adjustment different than the equity increase? I think because I calculated it wrong, and I realized it as soon as I said it. So that is a little bit wrong. The equity adjustment, that is from, I always update my numbers, and so that must have been an older one. So please take the first equity adjustment as far as the other one. My bad, sorry about that. I should have caught it. Next question, how far in advance should we apply for a loan? That is an excellent question. I would say as soon as you have decided that you want to move forward, that is the time to start talking with the lender. You really want to know what it is. It's basically how I explain it to people is, if I give you a credit card and tell you to go shopping, how do you know where to go? Are you going to go to Goodwill? Are you going to go to Nordstrom's? Are you going to go to TJ Maxx? So the time to talk to a lender is very, very early in the process. That doesn't mean you apply for a loan. You want to do a pre-qualification first so that you know what kind of programs that you're looking for. But I would say that is the first thing that you're going to do. And any realtor that you work with is going to advise that. You really want to know what your monthly payment is and what kind of big price tag you're approved for. Now, that being said, when you talk with the lender, I always recommend, and we'll go into this more next week, but when you talk with the lender, I always recommend that you tell them how much you want to pay monthly. I said it before, it doesn't matter what the big ticket number is. What matters is what you're writing that check for every month. So when you go to a lender, say, this is what I'm comfortable paying in a month for my housing expenses, and then they can work the numbers back from there. Do always recommend that you go to a local lender and talk with them, because they'll know what the average property taxes are. They'll have a better idea of what insurance is going to cost you, so they can give you a really good picture of then what that translates into for your purchasing power. So next question, I've heard that you should plan on living in your house for at least 5 years to get a good rate of return before selling it. Is this true? Yes and no. Actually, the average that people stay in houses is 5 to 7 years. 5 years, yes, that gives you a really good basis of paying down your principal and building your equity through appreciation. This is going to vary a little bit based on area. So keep that in mind. Every area has a different appreciation rate. Every market is different. That being said, as long as you hold on to it for at least 2 years, the exemption from capital gains taxes that I talked about earlier, as far as being taxed on the money that you make when you sell the house, comes into play. So you have to own the house as your principal residence for at least 2 years to be exempt from capital gains. So there's a lot of transition here in Morgantown where people come in and out. They're going to be here for a residency program or for a graduate program for more than, for just like 2 to 4 years. It really is definitely worth considering buying if you're going to be anywhere for more than 2 years, because of that exemption whenever you're buying a house. And I hope that helps. Let me go back to my Facebook and see if I have anybody there. No questions on Facebook. Do we have any other questions here in the panel? Those are really good questions, by the way. And like I said, I am recording this, so I can pass this on. And if you come up with questions when you're done, feel free to either call the phone number that you see there or email to the info@whitediamondrealty.net, and I can get those other questions answered. Plus, we're doing another webinar next Wednesday, the 9th at 6:30. That one is step-by-step in the home process to crossing the threshold of your new home. This is good for both folks who are, who currently own, maybe they're going through it again and they haven't done it for a while. Also, if they're selling and moving out of the area, you still want to know what the process is, because what the buyer is going through, the seller is going through. But that'll be a little bit more detail as far as, from house hunting to going under contract to having inspections done, etc. Got one more question. I still don't feel clear on what equity is, what the process and benefits of building equity are. Can you speak more to that? Yes, I absolutely can. So the definition of equity is the difference in what your home is worth and what you owe on your house. So when I say that you're building equity, let's say you pay $100,000 for your house, and you sell it 5 years later and it's worth $120,000. You have $20,000 in equity. And because our area has such a strong appreciation rate, we can look at that on a per annum basis and say that you can estimate that every year you're going to build this much equity simply by owning the house, because the market is naturally increasing. The market is naturally going up in value. So as other houses sell for higher value, therefore the value in your house goes up. I hope that helps. Does that help? Oh, I have more questions. Okay, yes, that helps. Okay, great. One more question, another question. What are some programs that help with down payment? There are several programs. There's the West Virginia Housing Fund that can help with down payment. The FHA loan program is only a 3.5% down payment, so it's a very low down payment, and that can be a gift. So in other words, a family member or a friend can gift that to you. There is a loan called a USDA, that's the United States Department of Agriculture. That loan is 100% financing. Naturally, that just has it limits where that house can be, so it can't be within city limits. That being said, all of Marion County is eligible for USDA financing, and a lot of Monongalia County is eligible for USDA financing. I believe all of Preston County, with the exception maybe of Kingwood, but I would have to look and see and refresh my memory. So those are really good ones. As I said before, if you are a veteran, or if your partner who is also going to be buying is a veteran, if either one of you are veterans, you can get a VA loan, which is 100% financing. Any other questions? Good questions, guys. I'm so excited. This was really fun. I hope I didn't go too fast. I get excited, and when I get excited, I have a tendency to talk a little fast, so hopefully that wasn't awful. Let me go back to Facebook and make sure. Oh, we're still good on Facebook. All right, so it seems like we're kind of out of questions. I want to thank you guys so much. This was so much fun. I hope it was helpful to you. As I mentioned, I will get these links out to you once we have them uploaded to wherever my people tell me to upload them. And if you have any questions, info@whitediamondrealty.net, 304-241-7500. I really hope you guys can make it back again next week. If you haven't registered for that, it's the same link. You should be able to register for it. And if you don't have it, feel free to let me know. Thanks, guys. Take care. It was really fun. I appreciate it.